Hello, so welcome to this one-off recording for the Croydon Constitutionalists. I'm here with Dan Heating, I'm Mike Swadling, and I'm here also with Zach Stiling, who is Heritage Party candidate and local resident. We just want to talk a little bit about ULEZ. Dan, most people have heard of it, but I wonder if you might fill in the blanks for those of us that struggle with the detail.
Yeah, so ULEZ is the Ultra Low Emission Zone, and this was introduced by the Mayor of London to improve the air quality in London. And basically, vehicles have to pay a fee per day should they enter the ULEZ, the zone. I think at the moment it's £12.50 per day. And this has been in operation for a while now in central London, and obviously it can have various impacts other than what it's intended just to do. And the reason we're talking about this here at the Croydon Constitutionalists is because it's now been announced that it's going to be expanded to cover pretty much all of Greater London, so that will include Croydon. And given that Croydon town centre and various of its shopping precincts are not doing too well at the moment, this is another thing that we're concerned about, and obviously those of us who pay our council tax to our bust council are going to be getting taxed even more. Zach, you're our resident motoring expert. What do you think of the ULEZ then?
Well, theoretically, it shouldn't present too much of a problem for most of us, because the cut-off year is 2006, so post 2006 your car should be exempt from it. The official estimate is that it will affect 15% of cars and commercial vehicles in London, but because they're the older ones, historic vehicles over 40 years old are exempt, but between that and 2006 you're paying £12.50 a day. Chances are, if you're driving a car that's 20 years old, it's because you can't afford anything newer. So the people who are going to be worst affected by this are the poorest in London.
Is that a Labour mayor? A Labour mayor charging the poorest in our city extra money? There's a surprise to almost literally no one. And of course, there's a green element to this. I wonder, Zach, any thoughts on what the environmental impact might be of scrapping your 2005 car because you get caught by a new tax?
The environmental aspects, though, as you mentioned, are nonsensical. If you're keeping an older car on the road, your emissions are just from how much you use it. If you scrap it and then have to build a whole new car using raw materials mined and shipped from all over the world, the emissions from that then go off the scale. We know that lithium mining for lithium-ion batteries, assuming your new car is going to be electric, is responsible for much of the destruction of the landscape around China and Tibet, I think, is where it's mined. And it's been attributed to local wildlife dying off because it poisons rivers and so on and so forth. Electric vehicles also require cobalt, which is mined in Africa, sending children down mines for some meagre pittance, to $2 a day or something. So it's not an environmental or a solution, and certainly not a humanitarian one.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So, here we're talking about a push to get people into new cars that requires us to fund the Chinese Communist Party, the greatest murderers in all of human history, and encourage child mining and abhorrent conditions in the Congo and other parts of Africa, which is, again, not exactly a good thing. And I guess not nearly as significant, but it is worth talking about the impact on lives here. Now, we're recording this in Colston at the moment, and the ULEZ zone starts or stops about 50 yards from where we're sitting. But I'm not quite sure because there are maps that suggest it might go a bit down the road, it might not. In fact, everyone's a bit confused, so much so that one of the local councillors was on Facebook asking, how does this work? Does anyone know what the actual map does? Which is a worry, but it means where we are right now, half a mile down the road, we are out of London. So, there's going to be a huge number of people that travel regularly from, and it happens to be sort of Banstead and Chipstead and those areas, into Causden, Purley, Selsdon, if you're coming from Tandridge perhaps, that are going to be caught by a London tax, but have no chance of removing the mayor that's imposed it.
Taxation without representation? Who ever heard that expression before? Yeah, it's unjust, and those sort of areas. What will people do? Will they cease to travel into those areas? Will they shop more locally? Will they travel to shopping centres and retail parks elsewhere? It's going to be damaging to those local shopping precincts, let alone central Croydon, which the whole debacle around the would-be Westfield shopping centre there, as we've talked about a lot on the podcast previously. It's going to be bad for business and bad for those people who can't afford perhaps to purchase a new vehicle, electric or otherwise. And going back to the pollution aspect, of course, if one was to buy a new electric vehicle, perhaps the emissions from that vehicle as it's driving along, of course they're a lot less than a normal diesel or petrol vehicle, because they're basically barely any. But the problem is there's no pollution at that point. But of course there is pollution elsewhere, whether it be in terms of the mining that's just been mentioned, or the fact that you do have to make electricity. Many people don't know where electricity comes from. That it just comes out of the hole in the wall, doesn't it? Or maybe some batteries. But electricity does need to be generated. There are cleaner ways to do that, but I'm not sure we're actually moving in that direction. So you're just moving pollution to somewhere else than where the actual vehicle is. So it's not great for the environment, really, and it's not great for places like Croydon and the shopping precincts in the vicinity.
Zach, you're a car man, and maybe just as a parting thought, what car might you be thinking of if someone's being caught out by this? What might they want to move to?
Well, I would evangelistically advocate for buying a historic vehicle, because they offer you so much more freedom than modern cars. They require maintenance, but for the time being they're exempt from the charges. You can maintain them yourself. You haven't got computers on board following you around, telling you they know better. So if you actually intend to enjoy driving, I think that's the way to do it. But if you would prefer a modern car, I can't be too partial. Anything post 2006, you may as well buy a 2007 car second hand. It will be perfectly cheap, and it will get you by for the time being until the next tax is devised.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, chaps.